All right. We're gonna, we're gonna give it a couple moments before we really get started. See if anybody is gonna actually join. Your head hurts. Oh no, we've got a hurt head from my little guy. So just a sec. How we doing, Clutch? How are we doing? So this is just an impromptu little diorama project. I've been working on this tree for a long, long time. What's up, Greg? Greg Cook in the house. I'm gonna move this light so it's not killing me quite so harsh in my mellow. It's going pretty good. So I've been making this tree for ages now, and I realized I need to actually work on finishing the stupid thing. So I posted a quick little video on Instagram, but I figured I'd throw something up here as well, just for the sake of it, since I'm still working on it a little bit. But basically, if you're uh, new to what I'm doing, the tree is there's a wooden dowel in the base, the trunk, and then I've got this modeling wire. It's I don't remember what gauge it is. It's pretty small wire, but you twist it all up. Maybe I'll do a tutorial someday. And then I've got hot glue just slathered on. I mean, just tons of hot glue. It's crazy how much is in there. And now I'm working on the bark. And so, Greg, I may do a tutorial so long as the entire thing actually turns out the way that I'm hoping it will. But I'm working on the bark. And the bark, I'm going to set the camera down so that it's not so shaky. And basically, all this is it's Elmer's glue. In the UK, I know they call it, I think they call it PVC glue. But here it's just Elmer's. And then I've got a bunch of sawdust. And mine has a pink tinge to it. And that's really just because the saw I use, I've used it to cut my diorama foam, and so a little bit of that is in there as well. So hopefully that doesn't cause any issues. But basically, just mix that up into a relatively good paste, and now I am essentially just. We'll see if you can actually see as I do this. Now I'm just kind of slathering it on to give it a nice coat. And the one thing that I am anticipating will be useful about this coat is that the Elmer's glue should and the sawdust should take paint a heck of a lot better than that hot glue. Because if you've worked with the hot glue, it doesn't always take paint really easily. So that adding the texture also helps. So basically, I'm just globbing this crap on. And once I get it on here to my liking, I'm going to kind of sculpt some, a little bit of lines to try and make it look even more like bark. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that very much. This is a first time endeavor making a tree. I've never made a tree before. Uh, but for my upcoming project that I have been, or not upcoming, my project that I've been working on for, God, I don't even know how many months, it requires a tree. So, gotta do what you gotta do. What up, Jetta? How we doing? Just doing a little diorama, impromptu, not even a tutorial, more of just hanging out. Because this is new, so I'm not saying I'm teaching anybody how to do this. I'm learning as I go, but thus far it has turned out pretty darn good. All right, so the one thing that I'm not 100% certain on yet, and I'm going to move the camera, is how to do this base. I don't know how I want to do the base. My initial thought process is that I'm going to tear this cardboard base off, but I wanted to have something for my roots to at least adhere to first. That way then I can kind of, um, when I put it on the diorama, obviously it has to be able to go on and off the diorama for, um, so that people can store it. So I haven't figured that quite out yet. Yes, happy little trees, Bob Ross. How we doing, T-Man? I didn't tell you guys I was going live because I didn't know I was going to until I did. That's why the thumbnail is just garbage. I may change that. Who knows? We'll see how long we go. It depends on if I start getting pinged at work or not. But for those of you in the chat that do dioramas, you got any projects you're going? I know, Greg, you've been hitting the diorama scene pretty hard. Anything you're working on right now? I know you were doing that grass scene piece. Did you finish that up? See if my chat is still there. Okay. Alrighty. So then once this is done, obviously we're gonna paint it up. There's a lot of coats of paint that I need to do, different colors. So you're trying to, trying to finish that one. Oh, that one is all finished as far as the main piece. Very nice. So I don't recall what was what was that diorama actually for, Greg? Was it for a specific line of toys? I don't remember if you had noted that in your post. All right, you probably can't see what I'm doing now. Adjust. I'm moving up the trunk. Lighting's terrible. Such is life. All right, so I probably could have used a better tool, but this is what I came up with. So if I find that this works out, I may make more trees. This is based off of a lot of the Warhammer gaming channels. There's a bunch that do tutorials on making trees for the game, and so I had to scale this up for a 1/12 scale rather than because they're what are they, 1/36 or 1/32? I don't know what scale that Warhammer stuff is. It could even be smaller. So doing a tree in that scale, I would assume in some respects is easier because there's a lot less for materials needed, but I don't know. My chat is not showing up. Oh, and I've got Goro, so that's awesome. I love that. I love that figure. I do have a review recorded. I just need to edit it, but school started, so I don't have near as much time to edit all that stuff. So it is what it is. But I could foresee, if I figured this tree thing out, I could foresee maybe making a few just on their own and selling them to people. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This has to actually turn out first. All right, so yeah, Warhammer. Yeah, I'm kind of mixing my instructions from 2 or 3 different sites that I found. I still don't know exactly how I'm going to do the foliage because there's several different techniques to do that, and I haven't yet settled on exactly what I'm going to do with that. But, I've got plenty of time because there is no deadline. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to get to these branches. You probably can't see. There we go. My light still is bright.
Take this off.
You need to take that off. We've got a Tinker Toy alert.
Were you saying that too?
Yep, Greg. That's exactly what I was thinking with that. If I had wood glue, I probably would have used wood glue. But because I know that number one, using that in carpentry and whatnot, and then they can paint it. That way, then the paint takes basically the same color tone as whatever else they're painting, or at least it's a little closer to a match. But I am no carpenter. I am no construction guy. So that is just what I think I know. Just like making a tree is what I think I know. All right. Anybody I know if Jetta's still in the chat, he found some cool stuff in his last video. Anybody else finding any cool stuff in their stores? I'm kind of done hunting until the next NECA release for the next Predator. I forget what that Predator is called, but that's going to be my next purchase, is a Predator. Really think this will paint very well. Thank you. All the time. Got the new Archive Bosch and IG88. Very nice. You know, I've seen in my Walmart they're stocking that latest vintage wave. We mostly the Luke, but I saw the IG88. I think it's IG88. I saw that one. Didn't see Boba Fett. I can't remember who else is in that Star Wars wave, but yeah, those are definitely hitting some of us late blooming Walmarts right now. So I may take a break from these branches because I don't know if I'm liking how this is going, and I might hit the trunk with my detail work before that gets too dry. And then we might just call this a live stream. So, boy, that light is still a little harsh. All right, so let's see what we can do. What is the base of the tree? You mean this? That's cardboard. Is that what you mean, T-Man? Or do you mean inside the tree? The inside of the tree is a wooden dowel. Come on, focus. So it's a wooden dowel that goes all the way up to about here. And then it's basically just modeler's, or kind of like jeweler's wire, but it's modeling wire. And that is wrapped around. So if you can see close in, come on, focus. I might be too close. You can see the wire inside. And as I branch out, I'm taking less wires so that it can get thinner and thinner till it gets to the edges, or to the, to the ends. And then this is just high temp hot glue, just globbed on. And now the Elmer's glue and sawdust. So that is essentially the entirety of this thing. Okay, so now I need to cut some lines. Branch out. Nice. So I don't know. I'm just gonna kind of. I don't think it needs to be all that specific to look like a tree. I don't think. The one issue that I may find with this is my sawdust might not be fine enough. That might be my biggest issue with this, is some of the chunks are kind of causing me some issues here. Because in the tutorials that I saw, a lot of them were just buying specific, like special uh, sawdust. And I thought, oh, well, sawdust, I could make my own. That may not be 100% true. So it is what it is. It's still, I mean, I still am liking the way that it's looking. It's just perhaps not as clean, but I can live with it. Once I get paint on there, it'll kind of cover up some of my mistakes. I'm hoping. I've inspired you. Then my job here is done. Well, maybe not, but let's try, instead of that flat one, let's try this. Let's try this, see if that gives me a better, not really. But trees aren't really smooth anyway, right? Maybe if I do it at more of an angle. Yeah, more of an angle. That's working a little better. So a toothpick might almost work better since this thing's kind of long. I could break it, but this is my stir stick. Can't break my stir stick. All right. So there it is, folks. It's kind of a tree. Turning out to be kind of a tree so far. So I don't know. I just thought I'd share a screwing needle. Maybe sewing needle? Never heard of a screwing needle. I'm just giving you a hard time. That sounds like a typo. Yeah, I think a sewing needle would work, or a toothpick, I think. I think also if I just had finer sawdust, that would help. But you know what? Let's put in a little knot right here. And let's put in another knot. Where do we have kind of an area that's kind of sticking out? Maybe right up here. Form a knot, maybe. Usually they're not perfect circles. And see if we can get it a little bit of detail in there. There we go. What do I think the drying time will be? Well, Elmer's glue has really long drying time, and this has hardly started to even begin to harden up. So I'm guessing it's going to be 24 hours minimum for this to be fully ready for paint. That's my guess. Just knowing, I mean, heck, it probably says on here. Dry time. Why the heck doesn't it have drying time on here? Tells me don't let it freeze, but what's the dry time? Stupid. Doesn't say. Garbage. They need to have better marketing team, better packaging team. If you're not going to tell me how long it's going to take, I don't care about you then. Where might there be? Or you know what? Right here might be a nice good size. Let's bring some over. Come on. How do I have a hair in there? Get out. That's like an eyelash. Gross. All right, I don't think you can see. Okay. Yeah, I found an eyelash in there. I'm hoping it was mine. Otherwise, gross. All right, let's put a little knot here. Just so we have a nice little hole for a knot. I don't know. I think that's about what we got. We recommend clamping for 2 hours or longer, and for maximum hold, allow the bond to cure for 24 hours before handling. Look at that! I am right. Or something. All right. So I think I'm pretty pleased with this. Um, Clearly, I still need to do the branches, but I think it's turned out pretty good. It's definitely not truly a 1/12 scale tree, but I think it's pretty darn good. I mean, you've got your Spider-Man there, and he could climb it. He could get some height. So I don't know, but thank you guys for hanging out with me for about 21 minutes. Uh, yeah, it was fun. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a little bit more, and especially when I get into the foliage, that I think is going to be the most interesting because that's really going to fill this thing out. So, alrighty, you guys, thanks for joining me. Have a good rest of your Thursday.